For most people, life follows a predictable path. You are born, you go to school, you get a job, you pay taxes, you spend your entire life working, and eventually you retire. But have you ever stopped and asked a deeper question? Why does almost every person on Earth follow the same structure? Why do billions of people wake up every morning to work inside systems they never designed? And why does it feel almost impossible to escape? Some people believe this is simply how society works, but others believe something much deeper is happening. They believe the modern world runs on a system carefully designed to control how people live, work, and think. And once you enter it, escaping becomes almost impossible. To understand this idea, we have to go back in history. Before modern governments, before corporations, before global financial systems, human societies worked very differently. People produced their own food, communities traded locally, and most people lived outside centralized control. But everything changed when industrialization began. Factories replaced farms, cities replaced villages. And large institutions began organizing human life on a massive scale. Suddenly, millions of people moved into cities and began working inside structured economic systems. Governments created laws, taxes, and regulations. Banks created financial systems that controlled money. Corporations created employment structures where people exchanged time for wages. At first, this system looked like progress, and in many ways it was. Industrialization created wealth, technology, and modern infrastructure. But it also created something else: dependence. In the modern world, survival depends on participation in the system. Food, housing, healthcare, education, everything requires money. And to get money, you must work inside the system. This creates a powerful cycle. You work to earn money, you spend that money to survive, and then you must continue working to maintain that survival. For many people, this cycle lasts their entire lives. Some critics argue that this system was not accidental. They believe it was gradually designed and strengthened by powerful institutions. Banks, governments, and corporations built structures that guide how society functions. One of the most powerful parts of this system is the modern financial system. Money is the foundation of modern civilization. But the way money works is more complex than most people realize. In many countries, money is created through central banking systems. Institutions like the Federal Reserve influence interest rates, lending, and the flow of money through the economy. Globally, institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank play major roles in shaping economic policies around the world. These institutions can influence national economies, government policies, and global financial stability. Supporters argue that these systems maintain order and prevent economic collapse. Critics argue that they concentrate enormous power in the hands of a few institutions. Another powerful layer of the system is education. From a young age, most people are trained to follow structured paths. School teaches discipline, schedules, and preparation for future employment. Students learn skills designed for participation in the workforce. But critics sometimes ask a controversial question. Does the education system teach people how to think independently? Or does it primarily train people to function inside existing systems? After education comes employment. Corporations and institutions organize the global workforce. Millions of people spend most of their lives working inside hierarchical organizations. These organizations depend on structure, rules, and productivity. And because survival depends on income, most people cannot simply walk away. Technology has also strengthened the system in new ways. Digital systems track economic activity. Online platforms shape communication. Algorithms influence what people see, read, and believe. Some experts warn that digital surveillance and data collection could create new forms of control. Governments and corporations now possess unprecedented amounts of information about individuals. At the same time, technology also gives people new opportunities. The internet allows information to spread faster than ever before. Individuals can start businesses, share ideas, and challenge traditional systems. This creates an interesting paradox. The same technology that strengthens centralized systems also gives individuals tools to challenge them. So the question becomes, is the system truly impossible to escape, or is it simply difficult to see? Some people attempt to escape through financial independence. Others move off-grid and try to live outside traditional economic structures. Some build online businesses or alternative lifestyles. But even these attempts often remain connected to the broader system. Modern civilization is deeply interconnected. Food supply chains, energy networks, global trade systems, financial markets. All of these structures connect billions of people into a single global system. This is why many experts argue that the real question is not whether the system exists. The real question is whether it is necessary. Large systems allow billions of people to coordinate complex societies. Without these systems, modern civilization might not function at all, but understanding how these systems work is still important. Because systems influence choices, they shape opportunities, and they affect the lives of billions of people every day. Some people believe the system limits freedom, others believe it creates stability and progress. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. The modern world is built on systems designed by institutions, governments, and economic structures. But individuals still make choices within those systems. The future may depend on how societies balance structure with freedom, how technology is used, and how much power institutions hold over the lives of ordinary people. Because in the end, the most important question is not whether the system exists. The real question is whether people understand it. But the system did not become powerful overnight. It evolved slowly, quietly, over decades. Every major institution that exists today was built step by step. Governments expanded their authority, banks expanded their influence, corporations expanded their control over production and employment, and slowly a global network began to form, a system where almost every human activity became connected to economic structures. Think about it. Food comes from industrial agriculture, electricity comes from national power grids. Transportation depends on global oil markets, communication depends on digital infrastructure owned by massive technology companies. Even basic daily activities depend on systems that individuals cannot easily control. In earlier centuries, survival depended mostly on land and local resources. Today, survival depends on participation in a complex global economy. If a person suddenly stopped participating in this system, their life would immediately become extremely difficult. They would lose income, access to healthcare would disappear, housing would become uncertain, education opportunities would vanish. The system is not maintained by force alone, it is maintained by necessity. People remain inside it because survival depends on it, and that is what makes it so powerful. Some critics call this the invisible cage, a structure that surrounds modern society without people even realizing it exists. You cannot see the walls, but you can feel the limits. For example, consider the idea of debt. Debt is one of the strongest mechanisms inside the modern economic system. Most people enter adulthood with some form of financial obligation. Student loans, car loans, mortgages, credit card balances. These obligations create long-term commitments to employment, because once debt exists, a person must continue generating income to repay it. And as millions of people enter this cycle, the entire economic system becomes stabilized by continuous labor. Debt keeps the engine running, but debt is only one layer of the system. Another powerful mechanism is taxation. Governments collect taxes to fund infrastructure, defense, public services, and social programs. Taxes are necessary for modern states to function, but they also reinforce participation in the system. Which future will become reality? No one knows for certain. But one thing is clear. The system that governs modern civilization is incredibly complex. It shapes careers, it shapes economies, it shapes politics. And it shapes the daily lives of billions of people. Understanding this system is one of the most important challenges of our time. Because systems are not inherently good or bad, they are tools. Tools that can create prosperity, or tools that can concentrate power. The outcome depends on how societies design them, and how individuals respond to them. So when people say, they designed a system you can never escape, the truth may be more complicated. Yes, the modern world is built on powerful systems. Yes, those systems influence nearly every aspect of life, but systems are created by humans. And anything created by humans can eventually change. The real question is not whether the system exists. The real question is whether people are aware of it. Because awareness is the first step toward change. And every major transformation in history began with people asking questions about the systems that shaped their world. The future of the system may already be taking shape, not inside secret meetings, but in everyday decisions made by billions of individuals around the globe, and the direction it takes may ultimately depend on whether people choose to simply follow the system, or understand it,